Please begin with Gasho. We'll put our hands together in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo
Yeah.
Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Wonderful.
So I'm going to share my screen. And I just wanted to mention in the beginning that I've been confused about meditation and mindfulness myself. We actually have a meditation service every Wednesday night on Zoom, and we recently renamed it to the mindfulness service, and I'm not really sure why. And so I've been wondering lately, just personally, what are the differences between these two practices, and why do they appear within the Buddhist tradition? They almost seem redundant. The other thing I began to notice in our meditation or mindfulness services on Wednesday night is we give you two instructions or suggestions. The first one is to focus by counting your breaths. And we suggest that when you inhale and you reach the top of your inhale, silently to yourself count 1, and then exhale. And at the bottom of the exhale, count 2. And you repeat this. But the hard part about it is you're not supposed to think about the next number. You're supposed to just, when the exhale ends or the inhale ends, you just naturally say the next one in line. But this is very difficult to do. And I have some examples coming up that it's very hard to do this, just to even count to 10 without getting distracted. But then immediately after that, we tell people that another approach is to just sit and experience your thoughts as they come and go without judgment. If you hear a fire engine, it's part of your practice. You integrate it into your mindfulness experience. And so I always wondered, well, which one is it? Are we supposed to focus, or are we supposed to open up to our experiences? And this is where the difference between meditation and mindfulness first show themselves at the very beginning of our service. So in the upper left corner, there's a woman sitting focused. And in the bottom right-hand corner, I would suggest this is a woman experiencing mindfulness in her everyday life. And this is the way most new people think about Buddhism as meditation, that meditation itself is Buddhism. And we don't really appreciate chanting, bowing, gasho, listening to the Dharma. It's this idea of sitting in a solitary way in a very quiet place and being single-minded. And this is the Soto Zen tradition where they literally face a blank wall in isolation. And we also have this image from the PBS documentary, The Buddha, where he realizes enlightenment at 35, going solo in meditation. This is one of my favorite images. An artist drew this as a depiction of how most modern people live. We're really focused on our thinking and our thoughts. Most Americans think that enlightenment is a mental issue or a thinking problem. And a lot of people think that when you sit in meditation, you're supposed to be exercising your mind or finding a truth within your mind. We don't focus too much on the body, and that's why the body here is so small. Buddhism is a lot about feelings and emotions, and your heart is a major part of your practice. And then another thing that's a little bit surprising, I think, is that from a Buddhist point of view, it's not that we can't focus. One of the main pillars of Buddhism is that we focus well, and that we can only really think about one thing at a time. So we're innately single-minded. The problem isn't that we can't focus. We're wired to focus on one thing at a time. We can only think about one thing at a time. The problem is that we can't keep our focus, that our thoughts keep swapping in and out. This happens a lot at work, right? You're writing an email, the phone rings, you get a text, somebody comes to your desk. You're constantly servicing interrupts, and it makes you very unproductive because you have to reset context all the time. You lose your place. And so this is something that that meditation helps, is to try to make the moments that we focus on something a bit longer. And so that's the issue. We're great at focusing, but just not for very long is the problem. And I wanted to give you an example. I think I got to 3 breaths counting successfully in my life. There's a book here. It's a journal, Life and Letters of Mara O'Halloran. She was an American-Irish woman who, after graduating from college, went to Japan to a Soto Zen center and became ordained as a high-ranking Zen monk. And tragically, after she received ordination, she was heading home back to America to start her own Zen practice. And she was in a bus crash touring, I believe, Thailand, and passed away. So she's considered a Zen saint now. But this is one of the quotes she gave, or her experiences, from page 274. It says that in her meditations during Zazen, she had counted her breaths from 1 to 10. When she lost count of her mind, when she lost count or her mind became distracted, she returned back to 1. She had yet to get as far as 10. Her record had been 6 breaths, and she said it was frustrating. It's my mind, she thought, yet I can't quiet it to count as far as 10. So in a way, not being able to count helps you relax and let go. And you're not really in control of even counting to 10. And there's a sense of no self in all of this. So sometimes in failure, there's insight and success. And being aware that your mind is constantly drifting is progress. So in this little cartoon, it kind of illustrates this. Am I in the moment? Is this the moment? Om. How will I know if I'm in the moment? I'm hungry. I want chips. Om. So I found a kind of a comical clip with Ellen DeGeneres talking about her experiences with meditation and trying to focus.
It's hard to find the silence, isn't it? It's just hard. Even when it's silent, it's not silent. Even at night when you're trying to go to sleep, it's just quiet. Your head just doesn't stop. Your brain just goes and goes and goes. All these non sequitur, fragmented, weird thoughts that just pop into your head. That's when you find out how boring you actually are. It's just you. It's just your thoughts. You're trying to go to sleep. You're all of a sudden, I like grapes. That was a good restaurant we went to today. Some good tuna salad. Not too much mayo. I should start making my own tuna salad. Silly to go out and pay for something I can make at home. I should order something I don't know how to make, like eggplant parmigiana or something like that. I've never really liked eggplant, but the parmigiana sounds interesting. Oh, I think I left money in my pants. If it's a 1, I don't care, but if it's a 20, I want to get that out of there. It's fun to find money, though. That's fun. You're not really finding money, it's your money. I gotta remember that money in the pants, 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 money in the pants. What's in the pants? Money, money in the pants. M and the P, M and the P, M and the P, M and the P, M and the P. Oh, now I have to pee. I just peed. I don't really have to pee. I just think I have to pee. If I don't pee now and I get up in the middle of the night, I'm going to be mad I didn't pee now. If I get up to pee, I should check for the money in the pants.
So this approach to meditation is kind of focusing on internal causes, being able to control your mind, stay focused. Mindfulness is another approach where you're overwhelmed by something larger than yourself. So you kind of like realize the futility of focus and you open up to things just as they are. But one of the confusing things is being mindful still has, I think we use it interchangeably with being focused or alert. My wife and I and our family, we lived in England in the early 90s in Cambridge. And of course, they drive on the other side of the street. And if you start to cross the street and normally you want to look to your left, you could die because the cars are coming from the right. It's really dangerous, right? You step off the curb, you look the wrong way, and you get hit. They also have this at all the subways, or the tube. Everywhere it says mind the gap. Be mindful of the gap. You don't want to get your foot caught between the platform and the subway train. And they actually write this down on the asphalt, on the curb, as you step off to remind you to look right. So, when we trip or we look the wrong way, we often say, well, you weren't being very mindful. You should pay attention more. But in Buddhism, mindful means to be open, to experience life as it is without judgment. If a fire engine goes by, you acknowledge it and you embrace it, and you just kind of roll with the experiences. And then this problem of mindfulness and meditation, even Zen masters have made some observations and complaints about this. From this book, Mind Sky, the misuse of mindfulness without a spiritual basis. People hope to be acquiring something. In mindfulness, instead of giving something up, there can be a goal of gaining something, like relief from stress or chronic pain or blissful happiness. I think we have to be careful about this. People find that this form of meditation is a way to ease anxiety and stress, and it has become hugely popular and widespread. Ever since Time magazine devoted its cover and full issue to the mindfulness revolution in 2014, there have been endless articles and best-selling books, even monthly magazines, devoted to the subject of mindfulness. But without some spiritual foundation, meditation practice doesn't go very far. Mindfulness programs are marketed commercially and are found in large corporations, public schools, and government agencies. Corporate mindfulness programs are intended essentially to increase workers' productivity through stress reduction. Mindfulness has become commodified to such an extent that I'm reluctant now to even use the term. So we're good at this in the United States. We commodify things, we market things, and we sell things as self-help. So what I'd like to do is look at this from a Buddhist perspective. On the Eightfold Noble Path, they come in three buckets. The first two are the wisdom bucket. The next three will be conduct. And the last three will be mindfulness or meditation. So right view, right thought, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood. And then we have right effort. And then again, we have right mindfulness and right meditation right next to each other. And I thought this was almost redundant because I didn't know the difference. But it turns out that mindfulness is to be completely to be absorbed in something. And meditation is to be completely aware. I've got that flipped. But mindfulness is to be absorbed or overwhelmed by something. And meditation is to be completely aware or focused. And then I was reading this book. It's called Behold the Buddha. And it's about statuary and symbols in the Buddhist tradition. But I found these two very interesting quotes. The author is James C. Dobbins, and he wrote that the Buddha's disciples took up a lifestyle that considered of distancing themselves from domestic life, keeping minimal possessions, and living a life of discipline and self-control. But then ordinary people, family people, householders, everyday people, instead of separating themselves from society, remain tied to their family and community. So this is where Jodo Shinshu sits in this second paragraph. We're not disciples, we're not monastic, we're unable to distance ourselves to maintain self-control and discipline. Instead, we remain tied and deeply immersed within everyday connections in life. And so I think meditation is very practical and very useful, but as a family man, as a householder, it can be quite difficult. I tried to meditate at home, and it's very noisy. I had 2 kids, 2 dogs, a firehouse is right down the street from me. There's also a junior high school across the street from me. It's very difficult to focus. But instead, I found that by opening up and being available to the experiences of my life, I can take the mindfulness practice out on the road. So this is the way they explained it on the internet. Right mindfulness, to see things as they really are, to stop and smell the roses. In a word, mindfulness is about experiencing the moment with an attitude of openness and freshness to all and every experience. Right meditation, in this state, we have successfully withdrawn from the distractions which keep us in an unskillful, unbeneficial state of mind. We rest single-pointedly in a state of awareness and meditation. So I think meditation is possible, but it's a lot easier to do in a monastery, in a controlled environment. I wanted to share this quote with you from Zen Master Dogen. He wrote, he went to China to learn about Buddhism, and he began to meditate, and he comes back to Japan and he begins Soto Zen, and he writes this 1-page document about the importance of Zazen, or seated meditation. And the first sentence was, for practicing Zazen or meditation, he said, a quiet room is suitable. And when I read this line, I actually stopped reading and I started laughing, because I thought only a monastic male bachelor would say such a thing. This was a non-starter for me. It's not practical. There is no suitable room in my home to practice focused, single-minded self-awareness. So this other approach of mindfulness is a way of finding both freedom and joy in our everyday lives, and to be overwhelmed by the cacophony. Rather than quieting it, we embrace it. So I wanted to share this short clip with you. This is Tara Brach. She's a professor, a doctorate in psychology. She teaches Buddhist meditation, self-help, wellness. And she said something very interesting. She said there's 2 parts to meditation. There's focus, concentration on the breath, but there's also awareness that opens us up. We accept things as they are. And she said this is where there's a real sense of freedom that begins to take over your heart and mind. And it's something that you can take out on the road as an everyday person.
What you'll find is that for most of us anyway, we need some purposeful collecting, focusing, the more concentrated kind of practice at the beginning of a formal meditation, because the mind tends to be busy and occupied. So we're trying to kind of say, come on back, let's be right here. And often we begin, when I give instructions, I begin with a body scan as a way of collecting attention, because we tend to be so dissociated from our body. We spend so much time in thoughts. So I tend to ground in the body, and then perhaps some time with the breath. But what you'll find is that as it gets quieter, you can more keep the breath, have the breath or whatever your anchor is in the foreground, but keep opening mindfully to whatever calls attention. Because ultimately, there's no freedom if all you're doing is coming back to the breath. The freedom really is in opening and resting in life just as it is.
So I thought that was wonderful. So they're mutually reinforcing and they're both very important. But you can do this while you're driving. You can just relax and just take it in. Every day is unique and special. And so I think this is what Namo Amida Butsu means, being embraced by infinite wisdom and compassion in your everyday life is a form of mindfulness in terms of general Buddhism. This is my favorite comic as well. This person on the left says, if only mindfulness interrupted life as much as life interrupts mindfulness. So, on the right, we have meditation and trying to let go. But on the left, we have somebody in their everyday lives where mindfulness interrupts their life. And it's a matter of letting in rather than letting go. And so I think this is the only real hope for everyday people to be able to practice this in their everyday lives. It doesn't require, there's no requirements. Wherever you are is your dojo. So this is a quote I got from Julia Sachs, one of our EB students. She said that one thing that comes to mind is a story about a student who was being exhorted by his teacher to let it go. And the desperate student replied, I can't let it go. To which his teacher said, then let it in. And then Joseph Campbell says, we must let go of the life we had planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. So we let go of these ideas of discipline and kind of preconceived notions of how or what we should be thinking. We can open up to the experience and be part of life. And then my wife, Linda, she likes to send me these little gifts and texts when we're drinking our morning coffee. And this is one of my favorite ones she sent me. I don't know if this is Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, but somebody wrote this and it only got one thumbs up. I think it should get more. It said, today is a beautiful day of opportunity. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I open myself up to the universe and trust the unfolding process of my life. So, if somebody asked me, what does Namo Amida Butsu mean? I think I might point to this text, to be open, to receive without judgment. And then rather than viewing things as good or bad or right and wrong, you begin to just see them as meaningful. Everything is meaningful. And we get away from the dualism as right and wrong and good and bad. And so that's an important approach to take. So I don't want to go too far over my time limit, and I'd like to begin to have questions and discussions. But for me, this kind of came to me within the last year or so. The differences and similarities between these two practices, why Jodo Shinshu leans into mindfulness as a very important practice. I actually did a seminar for a corporation on spirituality, and they asked me the difference between mindfulness and meditation. And I remember I talked for 10 minutes, but I have no idea what I said because I really didn't know, because we use these words interchangeably. So, we may start with counting our breaths, but then we begin to open up to a state of mindfulness. And it is good to have a place in your house that's kind of a spiritual center where you can smell the incense, you can look at your Buddha idol or image or statue, you can ring a bell. That's one of the reasons why Buddhist services kind of overwhelm the senses. It's visual, it's auditory, it's kinetic. Your body's involved, your hearing is involved, smells involved, sight's involved. And when we listen to the Dharma, I think we listen to the Dharma in this state of mindfulness, where we let it rush and wash over our heart and minds. And you have a sense in life of being immersed, enmeshed, and it's an intimacy you feel with everything around you. And I think that is a very practical application of Buddhism for us who live everyday lives at family and at work. So I want to thank you very much for listening. We could close with Gasho and then open it up to discussion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.